walking home the other day and this guy followed me as I was walking to my apartment. He asked me where I was going and I said, home, smiling politely and quickly turning around. Then he asked me if he could come with me and I said, no, I'm okay, this time making sure that I had no eye contact with him. Then he asked me, can I get your number? And I said, sorry, no thank you. Then he asked me, do you live alone? And I said, no, I live with my boyfriend, hoping that he would get the clue. Then he said, so can I get your number? Rape culture is a culture in which sexual violence is considered the norm. It's a culture where girls going away to college are told that they should invest in pepper spray keychains, but doesn't teach boys about consent. It's a culture that tells women that the length of their skirt determines how truthful their claims of sexual violence are. It's a culture that encourages women to keep their sexual assaults to themselves for fear of losing family members or ruining a reputation. It's a culture that tells boys that when they're raped by a female teacher, that they should be thankful that they were able to land a hot chick at such a young age. It's a culture that tells boys that they can't come forward about their rapes when their rapists are men, because surviving sexual violence makes you gay, and not being able to defend yourself makes you a wimp. It's a culture that jokes freely about men getting what they deserve in prison from other inmates. It's a culture that teaches men that they're incapable of being survivors of sexual violence because of physiological responses. It's a culture that teaches men that street harassment is a favorable way of approaching a woman. It's a culture where I have to say no over and over and over again because men are taught that no secretly means yes. It's a culture where men are more willing to respect my rejection if they believe that I belong to another man. Rape culture is not the idea that we live in a society that supports the idea of rape, but rather that we live in a society that trivializes, downplays, and sometimes struggles to decipher sexual violence. Rape culture tells survivors of sexual violence that they are required to report their rapes, but only convicts 2% of reported rapists. Rape culture unfortunately encourages silence. It creates a situation where people are made to feel responsible for the sexual violence that happens to them, but very rarely prosecutes people who commit it. Rape culture is a social bias that we can deconstruct, and I'm happy that we're starting to have these conversations more and more. Anyway, this is all food for thought. I want you guys to always remember and to never forget that you are beautiful and you are loved. Bye. If you like this video, you can support my work by becoming a monthly Patreon patron. As a woman who speaks on the internet, criticism is just part of my day-to-day. But one of my favorite criticisms is that I'm someone that has a perpetual case of the dreaded victims complex.